Hi guys, in this video I will show you how to host our MERN application on internet. So as you guys know, we have written all our backend front-end logic in client folder and we have written all our backend logic in server folder, right? So I'm going to create two GitHub repositories and one GitHub repository is for client folder and another repository for server folder. So I'm going to host my client folder on VERCEL website and I'm going to host my server folder on Render website. So if you guys don't know about Render and VERCEL, so they both are hosting providers which will make our website live on internet so that anyone can able to access our website on internet. So I'm going to host my client folder on VERCEL because VERCEL is specifically designed for hosting front-end applications. So I'm going to use VERCEL for front-end and I'm going to host my server folder on Render website because it is perfect for deploying backend applications like server connections, database connections. So for that we have to use Render because it is perfect for deploying those backend logics. So first of all, let's create a GitHub repository for this. Let's create one GitHub repository for this line folder and one GitHub repository for this server folder. So I'm going to visit GitHub website. So I'm currently logged into my account. That's why as you can see, I'm getting my image here. So from this, to create a new repository, simply click on this new button. And I'm going to name my repository as my app client. So after that, simply click on enter. So now our repository is successfully created. And this is our repository URL. So let me copy this. I have successfully copied. So after that, simply go to command prompt and let's head over to our client folder. So as you guys can see, our client folder is inside our myapp folder, right? So let's go to myapp folder by using cd command, which stands for change directory, and our folder myapp. After that, go to client folder. So to initialize a GitHub repository inside this client folder, we have to use a command called git init. Simply enter git init. So after that, as you can see, it is saying that initialize empty git repository. So now there is a repository inside our client folder. So I'm going to add this repository for our client folder. So I have already copied my GitHub repository link. So after that, we have to use a command called git remote add origin and then our GitHub repository URL. So I'm pasting it here. So after clicking on enter, this GitHub repository is successfully linked to our client folder. After that, we have to add all our code which is inside this client folder, right? So to add all our folders from a single command, we can simply use a command called git add dot. So after that, all our files will be added to this repository. So now we have to commit. So simply use git commit and then -m and then we have to provide a message like new files added. New files added. So after that, we have to push these files by using git push. So as you can see, it is asking us to push the current branch and return it use git push. Okay, it is saying that in which, so we have two branches, right? So if you guys know about git has two branches. One is master and another one is head. So I'm going to push my files to master branch. That's why I'm keeping master here. So if you want to push your files to head, you can simply use head here. So I'm going to use master branch here. So after clicking on enter, our files will be added to this github, to the github repository. So now if I refresh, so if I click on refresh, as you can see, all our folders inside this client folder are successfully added to our github repository, right? So after that, let's create another repository for our server folder. So let me click on this new button, and after that, I'm going to name my repository as my app server. So after that, click on enter. So now another repository successfully created. Let me copy this and let's link this repository to our server folder. This. So our server folder inside this my app folder, right? So let me open another tab in my command prompt, and I'm going to my app folder, and inside this I have server folder. So inside the server folder, I'm going to initialize the empty git repository. So now empty git repository is successfully initialized inside the server folder. After that, simply use git remote add origin and paste this repository URL here. So now this GitHub repository is successfully linked to our server folder. So after that, we have to push all these files to this GitHub repository, right? So we have to use the command git add dot. So now all the files are successfully added. After that, we have to commit. Let's add a message like new files added. After that, let's push our files. So I'm going to push my files to the master branch. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here. So now all our files are successfully added to our GitHub repository. Let me click on refresh. Now as you can see, all our folders which are inside the server folder are successfully added to our GitHub repository. So now first of all, let's host our client folder. So I'm going to host my client folder on VERCEL, right? So I'm going to visit VERCEL website. Simply go to Google and type VERCEL. After that, simply click on this link. So I have already logged into my account. That's why it is showing me this interface. So if you don't have an account, simply create one using GitHub. So after that, you will get an interface like this. So from this, simply click on this add new button. After that, click on project. So I have already linked my GitHub account. That's why, as you can see, it is showing all the repositories which are available in my GitHub account. So let me click on home. So as you can see, these are all my repositories, and that repositories are showing inside this VERCEL website because I have linked my GitHub account to my VERCEL account. That's why it is showing this repositories. So we have named our repository as my app client, right? So simply click on this import button. After that, it will ask us the project name. So I'm going to keep it as usual, and that's it. So after that, simply click on deploy button. Just wait. It will take some time to deploy our application. So I'm going to pause the video, guys, because it will take some time. So now, as you can see, our project is live on internet. So if your project is successfully deployed, you will get an interface like this. Like, congratulations, you just deployed a new project to VERCEL. And let's click on this continue to dashboard. So after that, simply go to this settings option. So I'm going to change the URL of our website. So for that, simply click on this domain. So for now, this is our website's URL. So I'm going to edit this. So I'm going to name this as, let's name it as my app client 100.versal.app. So you must use this versal.app. So you cannot able to use .com or .in because we are hosting our website for free. That's why you cannot able to use .com or .in. So this versal.app is common in the end of our URL. This is must be added to our URL. Otherwise, your website will not able to host on internet. So after that, simply click on this save button. So now let's enter this my app client 100.versal.app in our Chrome. My app client 100.versal.app. So as you can see, we have successfully able to get our output in the browser. So now let me enter some details like details, Samant, and then patients coder @gmail.com, then some password. So if I try to click on this register button, we are not going to redirect it to the OTP verification page because our server is not live on the internet, right? Because we have not hosted our server on render website. So now let's host our server folder on render website. So for that, simply go to render, simply go to Google and type render. So after that, simply click on this link. So I'm currently logged into my account. That's why I'm getting this interface. So after you create an account, you will also get an interface like this. So from this, simply click on this dashboard. After that, we will be redirected to our dashboard. So from here, simply click on this new button. So after that, click on web service. After that, as you can see, it is showing all the available repositories which are available in my GitHub account. So I have already linked my GitHub account to render website. That's why it is showing all the available repositories which are available in my GitHub account. So we have named our, so I have linked a GitHub repository to this server with name my app server, right? This one. So we have to link this server, this my app server repository to the render. So for that, click on this my app server. So after that, simply click on connect. So after that, it will ask the name. So I'm going to keep it as usual. So I'm not going to add any root directory because my root directory is itself this server. So I'm not going to add any root repository, any root directory. So after that, we have to add a start command. So to check the start command, simply go to this server folder and click on this package.json. So as you can see, we have not added a start command. So simply inside this scripts property, just write start, and then inside we have to add node and then our root file which is server.js. So we're using node for our backend logic, right? So I have to use node and then our root file which is server.js. So now let's add this inside this start command section. So I have to write this node server.js here, node server.js, and I also have to change the build command, but we don't have any build command here. So after that, we have to add a build command for here. So so we have to use npm install. So by adding this command in render website, our render can able to get the dependencies which are installed inside our server folder, which means this. So we have installed some packages for our server folder, right, which are inside this package.json. So I have to tell render to have these dependencies which are which are needed for our server folder. So by adding this npm install command inside this build command, render can able to know what dependencies are available in our package.json file. So after that, we have to select a plan. So I'm going to select free plan, and then so after that we have to add environment variables. So for that we have to go inside this .env file. As you can see, we are having environment variables, right? So we have to give environment variable access to render website. Otherwise, render cannot able to get this. So render cannot able to connect to this MongoDB account, because if we don't provide environment variables, how can it able to get? So let me go to this file. So here we are telling mongoose.connect process.env.mongodb atlas URL. So in the local environment, it will be perfect. So it will work. It will definitely work. But in production environment, it will not able to work, because render cannot able to get the value of this mongodb atlas URL, which is inside this .env file. So I have to provide this environment variable inside this environment variable section in render website, so that render website can able to get access to this environment variables. So I simply copy this and paste it here in the name of the variable. So I have named the variable as MongoDB Atlas URL, right? So in the inside this value section, we have to provide this value. Let me copy this from here to here and then paste it here. So after that, again click on this add-on environment variable, because we have another environment variable as JWT secret key. Copy this and paste it here, and then give the value which is inside this JWT secret key variable. Let me copy this and paste it here. After that, click on add an environment variable again, because we are having another environment variable which is below this code. So I don't want to show you that environment variable, because it is my app password for my Gmail account. So here, as you can see, right. So here, as you can see, we are having process.env.pass. So I have an environment variable with name pass inside this .env file. So below this, I am having that variable. I don't want to show you, because it is a sensitive information. So let me pause the video. So now I have successfully added my another environment variable with name pass. So for this pass, we have to provide our Google Mail app password. So I have explained that how to create an app password for our Gmail account in our previous videos. So I will give you that link in top right corner. So after that, that's it. So simply click on this create web service. So now just wait. As you can see, it is not working, guys. So I think there is a mistake somewhere. Let me go to VS Code. So let me click on this GitHub. So okay, we have added this start command, but we have not updated this in our GitHub repository. So let's go to command prompt, and then inside this server folder we have to add git dot add dot, and then git commit m. Let's add a message like added, what is that, added start command, and then simply click on enter git push. So now these changes are successfully updated in our GitHub repository. So to check, simply click on this, and if I let me go to this my app server. So here, as you can see, we got the message added start command, which we enter while committing added start command. So now these changes are successfully updated in our my app server repository. So now let's try to click on this create web service. So just wait. So now, as you can see, our server is successfully deployed, and now let's check whether we can able to see our console messages which you have written inside our server folder. like this server started. Let's check whether those messages are coming or not. Just wait. It's taking some time. So guys, as you can see, we have successfully received server started message which is coming from here, as well as you can also able to see a message node mailer connection successful, which is coming from, let me check it here. As you can see, we are consoling a message node mailer connection successful, which is coming here. But inside this connect to mongodb.js file, we have consoled a message with content mongodb connection successful. So this message, we cannot see that message here. That means we are making some error while connecting to this MongoDB Atlas database. So let me tell you why we have received an error like Mongo server selection error. So to get rid of this error, let me go to MongoDB Atlas website. Simply click on this link. Let me click on sign in. Just wait, guys. So I have successfully logged into my MongoDB Atlas account. So from here, you have to click on this network access option. So after that, as you can see, only this IP address can able to access our MongoDB Atlas database. So this IP address is my system's IP address, which means only my system can able to access the MongoDB Atlas database. But our render is trying to connect to our MongoDB Atlas database, but it cannot able to connect it because we are only allowing this IP address to access our database. So to get rid of this, simply click on this add IP address option and click on allow access from anywhere. After that, click on confirm. So now our address, our MongoDB Atlas database can able to accessed by any IP address. So now render can able to access our MongoDB Atlas database. So after that, so I think we have to refresh our. Let me click on refresh so that we can able to see that message. It is saying that deploying. Just wait. Let me close the browser and visit the render website again, guys. Then click on this. As you can see, the status is still in deploying stage. So we have to wait until it is completed. So just wait. So now all the updates are successfully deployed on render website. So click on this my app server and then go to this log section. So here, as you can see, we are seeing the server started message as well as node mailer connection successful message as well as MongoDB connection successful message. So we can able to see this MongoDB connection successful message after we have changed this IP address from MongoDB Atlas. So now render can able to access our MongoDB Atlas. That's why it is showing this message. That means our server can able to connect MongoDB Atlas account. So after that, now to check our server URL, simply click on this settings option. So from here, so we have to write this build command, guys, npm install, and then in start command we have to use this node server.js. So I have given my root file as server.js. That's why I have given node server.js here. And you also have to include this start command inside the package.json folder. Here as you can say I had started and then node server.js. So and our server URL is this. Simply click on this. As you can see, you are getting a message hi from backend, which is coming from our server.js file. Let me go to there is that here. So here as you can see, we are sending a message with hi from backend. That's why it is coming here. So now if you type this website, we can also able to get this message. That means our server is live on internet. So now we have to paste this server URL inside our client folder. Let me tell you why. So inside this client folder and inside this source, let me go to this. So this is our front end URL, right? And this is our register component, which is inside this source folder and inside this component folder. Right. Let me close all files, guys, and only open register.jsx. So from here, after clicking on this register button, we have to call this URL, right? So we have to change this root. Let me remove this. and make it template literals because we are going to add a variable here. So to add variables inside template literals, we have to use dollar sign and then curly braces, right? So here I'm going to create a variable like server URL, and inside this I'm going to paste our server URL. So let me copy this server URL and then paste it inside this. So here we have to pass our server URL, and then we have to update these changes in login component as well, because whenever you log in, let me go to this. So whenever we click on this login button, we are going to call our backend API endpoint. So let me go to login component as well, login.jsx. So here I'm going to pass that variable server URL and simply remove this and then add template literals and then use dollar sign and then curly braces and pass our server URL variable. And inside this verification as well, we have to update the server URL. Let me add template literals and then remove this localhost address and then update this with server URL variable, server URL. Also, I have to add this inside our homepage. Let me change this template literals and then dollar sign curly braces. So here we have to remove this. So we have to pass server URL variable, server URL. Also, we have to update this in forgot password because whenever we click on, let me go to this. So if I click on this reset password button, we are going to call our server. So here we have to update the server URL. Let me paste the server URL variable and insert this, remove this, and add template literals, and then pass our server URL variable, server URL. So now we have to update these changes to our GitHub account. Inside this, where is that my app client for my app client repository, right? So for that, we have to go this client and then click on enter git status to check which changes are applied. So as you can see, we have added some changes inside this 5 folders, right? So we have as you can see, we make some changes in this 5 files. That's why it is showing this five files. So to check in which files we are make some changes, we have to use this git status command. So now to update the changes, I have to use git add dot command and then git commit temp. Let's add a message like updated the server URL and then git push. So now just wait. So now those updates are successfully updated. So to check, simply go to our my app client repository. As you can see, it is updating. Just wait. It is in pending stage. Let me click on refresh. Okay, now it is successful. As you can see, we are receiving a message updated the server URL which we have given while committing here. As you can see. So now let me close all tabs and let's enter our my app client. Just wait. It's not working, guys. Let me visit VERCEL website. My app client and click on visit. So now let's try to enter some details and check whether we are going to redirect it to the OTP verification page or not. So I'm going to enter my email patientscoder@gmail.com and then some random password. So now if I click on register, just wait. So we are not redirecting to OTP verification page. Let me go to developer tools and then console. So we are getting some error, guys. We are getting a course error, status blocked. Allowed origin. Okay, let me go to server folder instead of let me close all files. Go to separate.json. So okay, guys, we have to change this origin. So here, as you can see, we have added localhost 5173, which means our server can able to only receive requests from this address. So we have to update this with our front end, our backend URL, which is let me go to render. Click click on dashboard on my app server. Let's get our server URL. Where is that, guys? Okay, here. Let me copy this and paste it inside our origin. So now let's update these changes in our GitHub repository. So I have updated server.js file which is inside the server folder, right? So I have to go inside this tab and let me check by using git status. As you can see, we have modified some changes inside this package.json as well as server.js. So simply add and then let's add a commit message like updated the origin value. Now let's push these changes and then check our repository which is my app server. So here as you can see we have received the commit message which is updated to origin value. So now let's visit our render website and check whether the status is successfully deployed or not. As you can see it is currently in deploying stage. So just wait until it is deployed. So now as you can see our changes are successfully deployed on render website, guys. So let's check whether it's working or not. Now let me click on refresh and enter some details, month and my email, agents order @gmail.com and some random password. So now if I click on register, still we are getting core server, guys. App server. Okay, guys, let me add star here instead of this. By adding star, we can able to request. We can able to receive request from anywhere. So let's update these changes to our GitHub repository. Let's add git add dot and then let's add a message like added star for origin property. Let's push it. So now let's check whether these updates are successfully updated in our server folder. So if I click on refresh, as you can see, I have received the OTP which we committed. So now let's go to Render's dashboard and if I click on refresh, so as you can see currently it is in deploying stage. Just wait until it is deployed. So guys, it is taking so much time to update the changes on Render website. So which is because we have made some mistake in our server folder. So here as you can see we are telling the port number as 4010. So we cannot use directly here as 4010. So instead of this we have to use process.env.port. So by adding this process.env.port, it will assign a random port which is available. So here as you can see currently we are deploying our application, our server on this 4010 port number. But so many developers use Render to host their servers. So when other servers are deployed on this 4010 port number, our server will not able to work. So for that purpose we have to change this specified port with this process.env.port. So by adding that, our render will assign a random port number for our server to run on that number. So if that random number will not available for hosting, then render will assign this 4010 as a port number for our server. So I think you guys understand what I am telling. So if you cannot able to understand, please comment down, guys, so that I will try to explain it again. So now let's update these changes to our GitHub repository. So let's add git add dot and then git commit. Let's add a message like changed port. Then git push. So I made a spelling mistake, guys. So simply ignore for now. So after that let's push the updates to our GitHub repository. Let's check. So here as you can see we have received the commit message change port. So now let me click on refresh on render website. So as you can see currently it is in deploying stage. So let's wait until it is deployed. So now as you can see our updates are successfully deployed, guys. So now let's check whether it's working or not. So let me click on refresh. So let's enter some details. Let me enter some random password. So if I click on register, Still you are getting some error, guys. Okay, here we are having two forward slashes after this .com, guys. Let me go to client register.jsx. Okay, guys, we have to remove this because as you can see in our root, we're only having one forward slash, right? So I have to remove the forward slash. So let me remove this forward slash for all the files. Let's remove the forward slash from here as well. So now let's update these changes. So we have made some changes inside our client folder, right? So let's go to client folder and let's check the status. So as you can see, we have modified these five files. That's why it is showing these files. So let's add and then let's commit a message like updated the server URL. Now let's push. So now our updates are successfully updated in our GitHub repository. Let's check whether it is updated or not. So let's go to my app client. So here as you can see, we have received the committed message which is updated the server URL. So now let's visit VERCEL website to check whether that updates are successfully updated from the GitHub repository or not. So click on this my app client. So to check whether the updates are successfully updated or not, simply click on this deployment section. So here as you can see, we have received the committed message with content update.server URL in our VERCEL website, which means these updates are successfully updated in VERCEL server. So now I think it will definitely work. Let me click on refresh. Let me inspect it. Let me enter my details. Let's enter some random password. Let's click on register. Okay, we are getting error as email already exists. So now our server is successfully working, guys. It is sending this response because in our previous video, let me open MongoDB Atlas. So in our previous video, we have stored this. We have created an account by using this email. Let me click on sign in. So now we are successfully logged in to our account. So from here, click on this database section and then click on this browse collection to check the available databases inside our cluster. So inside this users collection, as you can see, you have created account by using this patiencecoder@gmail.com. So that's why after clicking on this register, it is throwing an error like this email already exists. So let me enter a different email. Month inquiries. So if I click on register, we are going to OTP verification page. As you can see, we are redirected to OTP verification page. So now let me check the OTP from my mobile. So I have received an OTP which is 4952. So if I enter wrong OTP, as you can see, it is throwing an error with message incorrect OTP. So now I'm going to enter the correct OTP, and if I click on verify, as you can see, we are redirected to our home page. So now our MERN application is successfully deployed on internet. So if you enter this URL, you can able to get our website. So before concluding this video, we have to make some modifications, guys. So if I click on this logout button, as you can see, server is taking some time to do that operation. So at that time, we have to display some text like loading, so that user can able to know what is happening on the website. So let me show you what I'm telling. So I'm going to add some modifications for this login button. So this is login component, right? So let me go to login component. So here I'm going to add a state variable with name loading comma set loading, and I'm going to use state. So initially the value of this will be false. So let me tell you what I'm telling. Let me show you what I'm telling, guys. So let me log in with my email and then my password. So after clicking on this login, as you can see, it is taking some time to redirect us to home page, right? So at that time I want to add a loading here so that user can able to know what is happening. So for that I have created a state variable with name loading and a function set loading which is used to update this loading variable. So now initially the loading will be false, but whenever user clicks on the whenever user clicks on this login button, here as you can see we are calling handle submit function. So inside this handle submit function, here I'm going to call that set loading function, and I'm going to add not operator which is used to give the opposite value. So initially the value of loading will be false, right? But whenever user clicks on the login button, it will first check whether all the fields are filled or not, and if it is filled, it goes to the 17th line, and it will call the set loading function, and it is changing the value of the loading. It will change the value of false from true, because initially as you can see the value of loading is false, but whenever you clicks on the login button we are calling set loading function, and inside that function we are calling not operator which is used to give the opposite value. So if the value of loading is false, then it will make that value from false to true, and if that value is true, it will change the value from true to false. So now we have to change the content here instead of login. So we are going to use this state variable. So we have to write inside curly braces. We are going to check whether the value of loading is true or false. So if the value of loading is true, we are going to display some text like loading. And if the value is false, we are going to display the login button, login text. So after that, let's check the status of our Git. As you can see, we have modified the login.jsx component. That's why it is showing here. Let me push these changes. Git commit. Let's add a message like added loading. Let's push it. So now let's check whether those updates are successfully deployed on VERCEL or not. Simply go to this my app client and then deployment section. As you can see, the message which we committed, the message which we have added while committing added loading is coming here, and the status is ready. It means our updates are successfully deployed. So now let's visit our website by clicking on this visit button. So now if I try to log in, if I click on login, as you can see, the text loading is coming while we are waiting for response from the server. So now let's add that loading for this logout button as well. So this is homepage, right? So let's go to homepage, and here our logout button is here. So let's add a state variable with name loading, and then function to update that state variable set loading. Let's use state, and then initially it will be false, but whenever user clicks on the logout button, we are going to call this logout function. So inside this, we have to call that set loading function and change the value, give the opposite value of the loading value. So initially it is false, but whenever user clicks on the logout button, this loading value will be changed from false to true. So now here instead of logout, we are going to use conditional operator. So if it is if loading is true, we are going to display the text as loading, and if the loading value is false, we are going to display logout text. So now let's add this for register component as well. Let me copy this state variable. Let's go to register component. So here I'm going to paste that state variable, and whenever user clicks on the register button, let me click on logout. So whenever user clicks on this register button, we're calling our handle submit function. So inside this handle submit function, here I'm going to call the set loading function and change the value of the loading state variable. So now instead of register here, we're going to use conditional rendering. So if loading is true, we're going to display the text as loading. If loading is false, we're going to display the text as register. So let's add this for forgot password page as well. So let's paste the state variable, and then whenever user clicks on the forgot reset password button, we're going to call this handle submit function. So here we have to call that set loading function and change the value of state variable loading. So now here instead of reset password, we're going to check whether the value of loading is false or true. If loading is true, we're going to display the text as loading. If it is false, we're going to display the text as reset password. Let's add three dots here as well as here. Also, let's add that state variable here as well. So whenever user clicks on the verify button, we're going to call this handle verification function. So inside this handle verification function, we're going to call this at loading function and change the value of the state variable which is loading. So now here instead of verify, we're going to use conditional rendering, and if the value of loading is true, we're going to display the text as loading. If the value of loading is false, we're going to display the text as verify. So now let's check the status of our client folder. As you can see, we have modified these four files. That's why it is showing this. So let's add this and let's commit the message as added loading text while waiting for the response from server. Let's push these changes. So all the updates are successfully pushed to our repository. Now let's go to deployment section and check whether that updates are updated or not. As you can see, it is currently in building stage. Just wait until it is ready. As you can see, it is now ready. So now let's refresh our website and let's go to login page and let's enter our mail there at gmail.com and then 12345 So if I click on login, as you can see, it is currently showing loading. So if I click on this login button, as you can see, it is showing loading. So by adding this text, so our server will not work very quickly at every time, right? So at that time, by adding this loading, it will very useful for our website, for our users experience. So if we don't provide the text like this, so if server take too much time to respond and user try to click on that button again and again and they are not able to show anything, so they are not able to see anything and they are thinking like this website is not working well. So they will think like that. That's why so to get rid of that error, we have to add this loading text so that user can able to know what is happening and they will wait until the operation is successful. I hope you are understanding what I'm telling. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.